right, thank you for everyone that has decided to participate in our structural survey public meeting. This is being presented live in person in the police classroom, also as well as online via WebEx. We are going to do a run through of the project itself. Our consultants that we hired through Walter P. Moore are here. They're here virtually. They will be happy to answer any questions and talk to you about the project itself. Towards the end, we'll talk about funding mechanisms. And at the end of the presentation, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions from either the audience here or the participants online. The structural survey for the Missouri State Capitol and Munichburg commercial districts was funded by a Historic Preservation Fund grant through the National Park Service and the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. We generally get HPF grants every year where we try to do historic preservation type activities within the city of Jefferson. Last year, after the partial building collapse of 200 East High and the tornado, we decided to go ahead and apply for funds and pursue the project. So that comes into why did we do this? Well, we had 200 East High partially collapse. We also had the Union Hotel where the Amtrak station currently is. We had to evacuate that and set up a different transportation station for people to take the train because of the status of the building. So it really made us within the city and the community question, do we have a problem with our downtown load-bearing masonry walls? Do we have an issue? We don't know. So it's something that we'd like to take a look at. Intellectual knowledge. We did have the EF3 tornado that went through less than a mile away. With winds at that speed, there were impacts to our buildings downtown. We just didn't know to what extent. So as a city and a community, we really wanted to provide the property owners and those that operate and conduct business in our downtown really understand the structural status of our buildings in our downtown and Old Munichburg areas. It also is a mechanism in which to open up funding opportunities. When you have a need for a project, it enables you to get some of the federal funding and state funding that is possible. Here's the project scope of the area that we did. You'll see the highlighted blocks in yellow. We did not do all of downtown. We did not do all of the area, the buildings that were in the National Register district, because we really needed to take a manageable bite for the project. And then off to the right, you'll also see the 9 buildings that we did in Old Munichburg. The project timeline that we had for this project is we kind of had to rush it. We did apply for the grant. It was a $39,000 grant that we received. And then we did match it with a combination of city funds and in-kind staff time and resources. So about the week of April 9th, April 16th, we did send project letters and questionnaires out to property owners as well as tenants and occupants of the property itself. And the questionnaire was really asking about the interior of the structure. Did they see any indicators about what was going on the inside that may give some indicators on what's happening on the outside? I got to report that my volume's low, so I'll go ahead and turn on our mic. All right, can you hear me better now? It's from ST. Okay, great. All right, we'll pick it up back up. So April 23rd, the city and Walter P. Moore, we did host a webinar to discuss the project in detail, what we were going to do, what we were trying to achieve, and to answer any potential questions. By May 1st, the city had received 41 survey responses, which was great. In my opinion, for 100 structures, we received the 41 survey responses. We sent those to Walter P. Moore, so that way they would have a better understanding of a property when they were looking at it from the street view. From May 18th to May 22nd, Walter P. Moore conducted the site surveys. They were here in Jefferson City. They walked the blocks. They went all around the building. They did not go inside any of the properties. All of the observations were made from the exterior. On July 15th, we received a report from Walter P. Moore that had, we received a comprehensive report, and then we also received individual property reports. At this time, I'm going to kind of leave this slide up, but turn it over to Christian from Walter P. Moore, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the process of the project in which they underwent.
So, hello everyone, my name is Christian Kirch. I work for Walter P. Moore. I'm a structural engineer with our diagnostics group, and I was one of the engineers on site performing the evaluation. Our scope was to perform visual structural evaluation of the unreinforced masonry, load-bearing masonry buildings in the Missouri State Capitol and the Munichburg Commercial District in order to provide kind of a baseline evaluation, as Rachel mentioned, baseline evaluation of the condition of the unreinforced masonry walls. And also part of that was to determine the potential presence of unreinforced masonry common walls or party walls. These are walls shared between two building owners. The purpose of this baseline evaluation, baseline visual evaluation, was to determine the condition of the exterior walls, and that was visible from the exterior only. The questionnaire, the information we received from the building owners, from the property owners, was considered and is included in the reports. So our evaluation consisted, as I mentioned, of a visual evaluation from the exterior only. We did not enter any of the properties to perform evaluations. So all that was visible was the exterior walls, and all of the evaluation was performed from the street level. We didn't have lifts or anything like that. We were looking for items that would be of structural significance. We were also looking for items of kind of the waterproofing nature that would lead to deterioration, structural deterioration. So we would comment on those, such as parapet caps and similar. We took notes as we were on site. We took photographs, and we tried to look at every visible wall. So those were typically, for majority of the buildings, only on the street and the alleyway. Once we got back into the office, we prepared the reports for each building. We worked with the city of Jefferson to make sure that our condition rating is adequate, and we came up with 3-tier ratings. These ratings all kind of revolve around having additional evaluation performed. And this is mainly because of the limited access we were provided. So when we saw something on the exterior of the building that we thought was a structural distress of any kind, if it wasn't 100% clear what could have caused it, that's something that would then a follow-up interior evaluation would definitely be helpful for. The 3 different condition ratings that we assigned each one of the buildings to was the green condition rating, the yellow condition rating, and the red condition rating. With the green condition rating, meaning that based on the visual observations of the exterior, the owner survey reported, and the owner survey reported information from the interior of the structure, we did not observe, and we were not reported any information that would indicate that a structure would require a follow-up evaluation. Now, that being said, that's not the all green, everything is fine and great, because again, we did not go inside the building, so there could be other things inside the building that, you know, might be of concern. However, so there might be other things on the interior of the building that we did not see. I just want to make that clear. Then next thing, we had the yellow condition. And the yellow condition is classified or defined as based on the visual observation of the exterior of the building, the owner surveys and the reported information from the interior of the structure. Further assessment of the structure is warranted in the near future. So for these structures, typically, there were some indications of either deferred maintenance or types of distress that will lead to or will continue to worsen over time and will eventually need an evaluation or repairs. So that would be kind of what I would simplify the yellow condition to. And then lastly, we had the red condition, which based on the visual observations and or the survey reported information from the interior, we recommend pretty much an immediate assessment of the structure. These typically red condition structures were the structures that present a hazard to the safety of either the occupants or the public. And this could have been one thing, such as a leaning parapet that could trigger that, or it could be overall condition of the structure. So either or. When it comes to kind of a breakdown of the ratings, we ended up with 6 structures, or sorry, yes, percentage-wise. So 6 structures or 6% received the red rating, 53 structures received the yellow rating, and the remainder of the 41 structures received the green rating. The typical distress we would observe on buildings of this age and this type of construction where deteriorated mortar joints, spoiled bricks, cracks in masonry, cracks in sill stones, cornices, a lot of deteriorated capstones or coping tiles, depending on the system used, deteriorated stucco or IFIS, and also peeling paint. And I think that is about it. We will be here to answer any questions if there are any particular questions for us at the end of the survey. And Rachel, I think I'll hand that back over to you.
Thank you, Christian. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to give you an example of what the individual survey reports look like and kind of walk you through them. One moment, I might have to back out here. Give me one moment, guys. All right, sorry about that. I had it up and then I didn't. So this is the comprehensive report that the city received. At the end of the presentation, I'll share with you the link where you can look at it as a whole if you're interested. But really, what I wanted to do was go over the individual property reports that were received and just kind of walk you through what they mean and what it means to us when you get these reports. Okay, so here's our first example, 101, 103 West High Street. This property is pretty recognizable. Everybody should know where it resides. When you look at the report and you look at your report, you'll see kind of the estimated date that your building was constructed. You'll also see your historic status. You're going to see here either contributing or non-contributing. When your historic status is contributing, you are eligible for both federal historic preservation tax credits and state historic preservation tax credits. And I'll go more through, what that all entails. If your historic status is non-contributing, just know that we are actually currently resurveying portions of the downtown to see if we need to expand our historic district or if there's other properties that are now eligible based on having their facades removed, or anything that's happened essentially since the 1970s, because that's when the original survey was done. So, if you're hoping to utilize those tax credits and can't because you're not contributing, just hang in there, and that status could actually change. You'll see that this structure was given a green condition rating. You'll kind of go through, this is the structural survey summary that Walter P. Moore was talking about. Right here, you'll see the owner survey information. It looks like they did provide information about the interior of the building, or when there was a new roof, or any of the other kind of either engineering or architectural features, or rather work that they've had done recently. The visual observations that were made by Walter P. Moore will just show you, and you'll have the photos that go along with it. They're giving you examples of what they're looking at and why it's potentially a concern to them. You'll have the discussion that that they have put down about maybe why you have that existing problem or what you need to do about it. And then you have recommendations. And you'll see that on this building, even though it did receive a green condition status, it still has some kind of deteriorated mortar joints where they may need some tuck pointing in the near future. And then at the end of your report, you should have received photos that documented to the extent of what they were looking at on your building. And they did a pretty good job of highlighting it. That's just an example, and I hope this property owner doesn't mind me using it, but just thought we'd walk through that. Go back to the PowerPoint now. Okay, so the good stuff, the funding resources. Some of the opportunities that we have available right now, currently, we have our city-funded commercial facade improvement incentive. If you are viewing this through WebEx, feel free to copy the links, to screenshot this screen, whatever you need to do to get this information if you're interested. This is the city's website. You'll look for it in the Neighborhood Reinvestment Act. You will see that our program funding is temporarily suspended, but we are anticipating opening the program up starting in November. So you'll see commercial facade improvement incentive and the details that go along with that. It's essentially if you're spending over $10,000 or more on your facade of your building, you are eligible for up to $3,000 per year for 3 years of property tax reimbursements. So what you'll do is you'll send us your paid property tax receipt, and we'll go ahead and reimburse you for the work that you did on your property. You'll see all the eligibility requirements here. And then also take a look at if you've got other properties throughout the city. We do have other incentives available. So please take a look at those. Okay, we also have federal historic preservation tax credits. Again, those are eligible only on the contributing buildings within the National Registered District. You'll see the application process. It is somewhat tedious. I would recommend sitting down with an accountant to kind of work it out, because it's a 3-phased application process. But they'll talk about the eligibility requirements and how much you have to put into the exterior of your building, because it's really on a, how much did you purchase the property for? What's the land value? It's on a case-by-case basis. But if your property is eligible, you can get up to 20% of 20% in tax credits back of what you spent on the repair of your building. Going back for state historic preservation tax credits, And I should mention federal historic preservation tax credits are for income producing properties only. So if you have other properties that are on the residential side, um, on the residential side, it's really for income producing. So it is eligible for rentals as well. The state historic preservation tax credit program is eligible for the downtown structures as well as residential. You can double dip both opportunities. You could take advantage of the federal tax credit and you can take advantage of the state tax credit simultaneous to each other. This is just all the program requirements, eligibility, what you need to consider. In this one, the state tax credit is 25%. So you get 20% on the federal side, 25% on the state side. So if you have a big project that you're considering, this is definitely something that would be of value to you. The tax credits are transferable. So what that means is if you feel like that you're not going to, I think it's 10 years, don't hold me to that. But if you earn too many tax credits that you're not going to be able to use, a lot of times accounting firms will purchase them to be able to utilize for their own purposes. We also do have Chapter 353 tax abatement available to the city. And that link's not going to work for me. But what this means is that the city does have the ability to abate your property taxes for a number of years. What you have to do first is you have to do a blight study, and if your property is considered blighted, then you can take advantage of the tax abatement through the city. If anybody's interested in this potential, please contact me, and we'll try to figure out the process of how you can become eligible for that. And I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, one of the reasons why we do things like this is to assess whether or not we have a need. And when we determine that we do have a need, and in this case, I do think we do. I don't think it's urgent. I don't think our downtown is failing by any means, but I do think that we could, as a city, provide some programming, grant funding, other additional incentives available for property owners. That way we can improve our resources that we have currently. And one of those programs, we are looking into entering into a Main Street program. We have discussed this with some of our community organizations. And if you're interested in figuring out what it is all about, please do. They have sort of pull up their 4-point approach. It involves historic preservation, economic development. So they'll tell you their 4-point approach is organization, economic vitality, design, and promotion. So what the Main Street program really is it's a historic preservation / economic development. It's for downtown areas that like to keep the integrity of their historic core while maintaining economic vitality. So what this program really offers is a lot of technical assistance, additional grants that we would be eligible to apply for. They talk about how to incorporate window your storefronts. It's a good thing. It's proved successful in other communities throughout Missouri. This is a national program, and the Missouri Main Street is ran through the Department of Economic Development. So Main Street programs are happening throughout the country and throughout Missouri, and it's an additional channel for additional opportunities for the city of Jefferson. So that's something that we are pursuing. The other opportunity, this would be a big one, historic revitalization sub-grant program. This is a national program, very competitive, but as I mentioned, when you have a survey that demonstrates need, it somewhat gives you a leg up on the grant side, because we've done the legwork of demonstrating that we have a need. So give us money, essentially. So what this program would be is something that the city or the State Historic Preservation Office would apply for, and then we would be able to grant property owners, nonprofits, depending on how we would set up the grant program. We would be able to grant brick and mortar type construction activities. So if you have tuck pointing that you need to do, and you'll see kind of the so it's getting ready to come open in the fall of 2020. So we're kind of waiting to see when it's open so we can turn around and try to apply. Now the timing of these things, and this is what I always tell people: grants are never fast. It's long-term planning. So if we were able to apply in the fall of 2020, we probably wouldn't actually be awarding property owners until fall of 2021 or somewhat later, hopefully. So, and that's if we would receive the funding, but we will try. At this time, mouse is sensitive. At this time, the structural survey report, if you are an individual property owner or a tenant occupant, you received an individual copy. If you're interested in seeing the comprehensive report in all of its glory, there is the link. It's under kind of the history and heritage. It's kind of hidden. Not a huge fan of how our website is constructed, but it's out there. If you want to go ahead, if you're at home on the WebEx, you can go ahead and copy the link and view it anytime you want. You'll kind of see what I scrolled through real quickly. What's really useful if you're interested is the executive summary, or if you're interested in you have a property downtown and you want to see how your neighbor did, you can look that up as well. If you have any questions about funding mechanisms, or you're in a yellow and I just talked to a property owner just before this meeting about what does this mean, do I need to do anything as far as the city is concerned? If you needed to do anything as far as the city is concerned, you would have received notification telling you what you needed to do with your property. Please feel free to contact me, Rachel Sinzi. I'm the Neighborhood Services Supervisor with the City of Jefferson. My email address is there. My phone number is 573-634-6305. And at this time, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. Do you have a question? Yes. Do you want to speak in the microphone so everybody can hear you?
Mike Lester, City Council, Ward 2. 200 East High. With that structure, its collapse, it seemed like it was really deteriorated up high, maybe on the inside. Would this been the assessment of that? If it been done through this, would it have been read?
I hope so. I don't know. I don't think anybody does, because if we had noticed it, I hope that we would have had action. Anytime that a sort of, and maybe Christian, you could answer this better, but I get the impression that as an engineer, you have an obligation to report things that you notice, such as a failing exterior. We at the city did not know. I don't know. I don't think the property owner knew. It was just something that sometimes we don't pay attention to things unless we're looking for something. And that may have been in that case. When Walter P. Moore came in and did their survey, it was already, was it, Christian, was it gone or was it being demoed?
When we performed we came out to look at the structure once it already collapsed. The 200, is that the one you guys are talking about? The 200 East? Yeah, that structure was already collapsed when we came out to look at it. And the other thing you were mentioning, yes, we are, our duty is to protect public And that's our number one goal. So if we see something, we would have to report it. That's structurally concerning. We would have to report it.
Do we have any other questions via WebEx or Mike? Okay, if we have no further questions, I'll go ahead and end the presentation. I appreciate everybody taking the time out of their Tuesday afternoon to learn more about what's happening in your city. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. It's Rachel Senzi. It's the City of Jefferson, Neighborhood Services Supervisor. You'll see my email address on your screen. My phone number is 573-634-6305. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.